Carl and Damon here from Games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's the big question, and we're asking, what do we think is the best game world we've ever explored? And this could be the most open, interesting game world you've ever done, or one of the more wacky, unusual. It doesn't even have to be necessarily the biggest that you've ever explored, but it's just one that you found you just could go all over the place. You enjoyed it for that aspect and find and enjoy new things. It could be a small game. It could be a massive game. The variety of what's available to you. We're going to just throw out some of the ones and hopefully narrow it down to, yeah, you know what, that's my favourite. So when you think of game worlds, what kind of jumps into your mind straight away? Skyrim, yep. I would say Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout 3, more than any other Fallout. The Witcher 3.
I've got one, which is... I'm going to say Fable.
Fable?
Fable, because it is quite open world, do you think?
No, I mean, it could be any world. It doesn't have to be a specifically open world.
I think Fable, because it's a very large area to explore.
Yeah, yes, I agree, but I don't remember a lot of the in-between parts of Fable. I remember towns more than anything else.
Towns,
but in-between parts, never really. Fable never doesn't stand out for me, although I've always enjoyed the games. And I do hope one day they find a way to bring that series back.
Yep.
I don't really think of that as a high point in my head in the same way. I do, like I said, naturally go to the huge ones, but I'm also trying to think, this is that off the fly. We don't have notes for this. We want to kind of just search our memory banks. I'm thinking of worlds that just always excited me to be in.
I've got another one.
Go on.
Mass Effect. Do you think? Because of the amount of worlds you visit.
Of course.
And explore, so that's got to be there, surely.
Any specific game, though, or is it specifically the Mass Effect, the original? Because I'd say...
1 and 2, I think. Not so much 3.
I would say 2 over 1, because 1, a lot of the worlds were just Mako-driven.
Yeah.
And so 2's world is probably more intriguing. But 1 had more exploration on the Citadel.
Yeah.
So you have that. You're really annoyed with what you did with the Citadel later on.
Stupid.
Absolutely. Although there wasn't, to be fair, 1, the Citadel was mostly pointless, really. It was just a lot of talking and not a lot of else.
Yeah, of course.
So let's focus on one specifically we know is amazing. Skyrim.
Yeah.
It's got to be that, right?
Yep.
There is one of the best examples of a game world that is huge, wildly different. In every corner there appears to be things to do, caves to explore, aspects like that. Random encounters, dragons, enemies, stuff like that. It's got to be up there, really, is one of the best.
Yeah, definitely. And how long ago was that? 2014?
God, when was Skyrim released? I can't think.
A long time ago.
It's a long time. It's a decade. It's at least a decade old.
Where's the next one?
Well, supposedly being made. Well, they had that opening image of last year. I think it was last year of Elder Scrolls 6. So we shall see on that. I'll imagine they're busying away right now as we're talking. Hopefully, on it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's got to be up there. Let's go back. Right. So, Far Cry. I'm trying to think of Far Cry. Now, when I think of... You know what, right? Although I think Far Cry 3, like a lot of people, is the best Far Cry game, the one I enjoyed the most, weirdly enough, when I think of Far Cry game worlds, I think of Far Cry 2, and I think of Africa, and I think of malaria and stuff like that. Although I didn't really love that game, that was my first experience of a Far Cry game. I remember being amazed that it was like playing a game that meant you were sick with malaria, and it was like, oh... That's a new thing.
Yeah.
That was quite intriguing. But doing it wrong, because the problem is there's things like, and it applies to places like games like Just Cause as well.
Yeah.
Where you've just kind of got jungles and forests and stuff like that. It isn't the most interesting.
I literally recently, probably about a month ago, completed Just Cause, the first one, the original one. And I instantly regretted downloading it.
Oh, the original Just Cause, yeah?
Literally the first one. I paid two quid it was on a deal on Game Pass. And I thought, you know what? I remember loving that game. Downloaded it. My God, I got the first achievement. I so regret playing this game. I've completed it now, but it was hell. Yeah, it's terrible. Graphics were terrible.
Those are games that get better and got better gameplay-wise as well. Yozma number 2 being really strong as well. What about... Right, let's pick... consoles and base it off that. Okay, so let's look at PlayStation specifically, PS1. think of game worlds on that we thought were particularly amazing.
I've got one, but I'm not sure if it's going to class. But I'm going to say the original Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, of course it does. Why doesn't it count class?
Because
It's a game world.
You're based on one. You're only based on one city, so
Yeah, but it's a world.
Yeah,
It's still a thing. Like when I say world, you know what I mean. I mean, I call it level if you want, more than anything else. But just like the overarching thing.
Yeah, definitely GTA 3. Sorry, not GTA, the original one.
Yeah, the top-down one.
Yeah. Not a great game, obviously, but when we were younger.
No, the opposite way. I'd say it's a great game, but like, there's nothing memorable about that world for me at all. I don't think about it. I never really locate. When I think of great game worlds, I think of Grand Theft Auto. Later, I would say, well, let's do Grand Theft Auto then. You know what it's coming down to. Vice City. Vice City. And don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoy Liberty City and San Andreas. Not so much Grand Theft Auto 4's one. Is that Liberty City again? Number 4?
I think it is, yeah. And then obviously five's obviously brilliant.
Yeah, stunning, but
everyone
Vice
always
City.
says Vice City.
Yeah, for me, it's my favourite Grand Theft Auto game still today.
Yeah, mine too.
Vice City, but yeah, that's one I remember. Like, I can remember the streets and that more than that's how vivid that world stands out for me. But sticking with PlayStation 1 then, what other ones? So, and like I said, I do want to keep it in world-based, because I don't want it, I think like Metal Gear Solid, but I'm like, well, that's just like Shadow Moses and that area there.
Populous. Different worlds.
No, but that's level-based. That's
yeah,
level-based more than anything else. Can't do the levels.
What was something like Legacy of Kain? Do you think? Because it's quite...
Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
Massive map.
It is an interesting world, but it's not my favourite. Because of how that's broken down and how it's portrayed, and I remember areas strongly, but I don't always remember enjoying a lot of them. Like, a lot of the cave systems were quite pedantic to get through. Fuck Corhagen.
Oh, God,
the city covered in plague. In fact, you know what? If we're doing that, Soul Reaver's more memorable. But Soul Reaver's world lacks. It's one of the biggest criticisms I have of that game. How it's empty. It's an empty world. It makes you feel like it's bigger than it is, but it's actually quite linear. You can't explore that much, and there's a whole lot of nothing going on.
True.
So I'm going to have to sort of say, that one doesn't really fly for me.
What about Silent Hill, the PS1?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great world, and it's a world I recognise instantly in my head. Although it's set in that one specific area, it's explorative. You could argue it's broken down almost sections into levels. It does stand out, but it also applies to Resident Evil and things like that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I think that's the problem. I don't want to get too far off track. Is how do we define those against the Skyrims? They are obviously quite different.
Of course.
So let's try and keep it based in worlds. There weren't really that many open worlds back in the day. Of course, it couldn't handle that kind of thing.
No.
So how could there be? So then you kind of move into, like, there's certainly none in the early days. Nothing like Mega Drive, that kind of era.
No.
Dreamcast.
Well, Dreamcast, you had...
There's one. Shamu's World.
Yeah, okay.
Shamu's World. It's a place, although it's not very big, it's somewhere I remember quite fondly. I picture it in my head. When you was younger, it made me want to go there and visit it and stuff like that. Even though, like I said, it's really just connected streets more than anything else.
Yep.
It's something so simple, but Shamu's World is one of my favourite.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, it was like one of the, not the first game, but it was like one of the most advanced games probably to ever be created at that time.
At the time, of course it was, but that's easily up there, Shamu's World.
Of course, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Here's an odd one I'm going to throw out.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventures World. Because that is a lot more open than they've ever been before with interconnected sections. Yep. Again, that sort of stands out in my head more than anything else.
Definitely, yeah. Well, it stands out more than Sonic Adventure 2. So, yeah, because obviously the original was obviously the better one. Time Splitters, is that one?
Levels.
Is that levels?
Levels, I would say that's levels. There's no world in that. There's no overarching world for you to explore, is there? We'll stick and then let's look around the GameCube and Nintendo 64 areas more than anything else. Do we add things like Zelda and Majora's Mask into that?
It's got to be.
It's got to be the worlds.
Massive.
There's no, it's not, it's got dungeons, but it's not worlds.
Yep.
Well, it's no sequel. Obviously, that's two of the best, but not necessarily the most interesting to explore. I would say. I'd say of the two, Majora's Mask is probably more unusual and out there. But elements like that?
I'm going to say Harvest Moon too, even though it's a very small town.
Of
But
course.
it's still an open area which you can wander around. But then it's not
There's,
really
there's
much to do.
fuck all there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
Same
but
sort of
your
thing.
world will be different, and I think they're quite basic as
Yep.
well. So it brings us to like more modern day, really. We're back into this sort of Skyrim-y areas. What was the first? Do you remember? What was the first kind of open world game you played?
I don't know for 100%, but I'm going to say Oblivion. I think it might have been Oblivion, or it might have been Original Fable. But then obviously, but I think the proper open world game has got to be Oblivion. I think.
I think I think it's that or Fallout 3. I can't remember which one I played first. It would have been the earliest. The first game I ever played on Xbox 360 was kind of open world, which was Bully.
Yeah.
So there are elements of that as well. It really actually is. I thought this would be easy. I thought we'd get to a quite literally nuanced answer and say, well, that's it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I can actually tell you right now, I will tell you when we get to the end. I already know what my favourite is, and it's in my head. And I'm going to sort of say it in, but I wanted to sort of dance around some of the more other ones. The world of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And 2 and 3 as well. All interconnected levels more than anything else, but still a treat to explore.
Do you know what game? It's going back to the PS1, but it might be wrong here. But Broken Sword and Discworld. Are they open? Would you?
No, they're point and clicks.
Okay. Yeah.
I nothing open about them. You
Yep.
can't just wander off and explore
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Point and clicks. More than anything else. This feels now like it's a lesson teaching you on what the hell's the difference between open world and others is.
I mean, I suppose. Yeah.
What about Yakuza games? So these are games you played.
Yeah.
Which one would you say had your favourite world, as it were?
Well, I mean, obviously, every game you're based in
The same place, yeah.
You're based in the same city, but obviously, I think like number 4, you can go to 3 or 4 different cities.
Yep.
By driving there. But I think probably the most open one would have to be number 4 because you go to 3 or 4 different cities. I mean,
Is that the one? Is that your one that you remember and enjoy the most, though?
surprisingly, the one I enjoyed the most was actually Yakuza 0, because it said it actually started. I mean, obviously, I started number 3, and obviously I went 3, 4, 5, and then I went back to 0 because I think at the time 0, 1, and 2 wasn't on Game Pass.
Right.
And then by the time I got to like number 5, they'd released them on Game Pass again. But for me, 0, because obviously it starts a story and it explains how you became who you are.
But
With friends and all that.
But I meant world-wise, not so much the game itself, but the world. Which of the worlds did you, and not so much what that offered you. Like you said 4 because of what you could do. But which of the worlds that you experienced did you find the one you connected to most?
For me, again, it was
Hard, right?
it's hard because obviously because I started at number 3. In number 3, the map is complete. But when you do 0, half the buildings weren't even built yet. Mm-hmm. So, like for example, like your main tower that you work in your office, that didn't even exist in 0. The plans on the wall when they're building it, and obviously then in 3 it's built. So, but I'm gonna say 0 because obviously it was proper old time and old school, and obviously 0 was probably one of my favourites. So I'll stick with 0.
It's the only Yakuza game I played is 0. So it's the only one it's the one I can properly relate to and understand. But I always enjoyed walking around that town and elements of that more than anything else.
I mean, obviously it has this obviously repetitiveness. And
Of course.
the constant getting into fights every 2 seconds is annoying. But yeah.
So what is your favourite one then? Because I also want to throw out obviously the Worlds of the Witcher as well. An amazing place. But what then is your favourite, do you think?
It's got to be Skyrim.
Yeah? It's up there, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's one that I could go back to. Even though I've completed it 3 or 4 times, I could play it again tomorrow and do it again for about 8 hours.
I think it's a fair, easy shout. Skyrim has got arguably one of the best worlds in gaming, but it's not my favourite. My favourite is new. It's actually very, very new. It is not just a spectacular world to explore, because this game series, if you want to put it that way, is the first time it went open world. Properly open world, because Dark Souls, while it had worlds, was never the case. This one went properly open world, but they packed it. Not only is every area unique, different, incredibly interesting to explore, but every section of it has something to find, some secret cave, some tunnels. Everywhere you look in that game, there's something fucking spectacular. You could spend 100 hours just wandering around and exploring the world before you even consider moving on with the main quest. It is, of course, Elden Ring. Elden Ring's world is my favourite game world at the moment. There's nothing better than it.
I'm waiting for it to come in Game Pass.
You'll be waiting a very, very long time. It's not going to come to it. You're going to have to wait till it's cheap and just pick it up and stop being cheap, because it's a stunning game. But that's my Elden Ring. Otherwise, I think I probably would agree with you and say Skyrim. I might lean towards Fallout 3 because that's one of my earliest memories, and I think of Megaton, and towns like that. But I don't remember it well enough anymore.
I never had I've never had the love for Fallout. I've never really played it. I mean, I played Fallout Shelter. Obviously, the little
right, okay, yeah.
You know, I've got it on the Xbox now. It's like free on Game Pass. Not Game Pass. Like, you can get it for free.
Yeah, it's free to play. Yeah.
But I think I started Fallout 3 a while ago. I've got like one achievement on it, and it is on Game Pass still. And I'm sure I will go to it at some point. But no, I never had the love of that game. But I'm sure a lot of people might say Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, both. Yeah, you know what? You do highlight them. I do like the worlds of both games.
Yeah.
Of course I do. The reason why I'm not kind of like leaning towards that is because similar to Far Cry and elements like that, it's based in realism.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff. Well, that's cool to look at and cool to explore. I want fantasy. I want Skyrim fantasy. I want Elden Ring's fantasy. I want to go down in a tunnel in the ring and discover a fucking crypt with a boss that just murders me in 2 seconds time. You know, that's what I want. Whereas exploring the forests and, you know, plains of Red Dead Redemption is cool as fuck, but it's not necessarily what I connect to in the same way personally, I think.
I mean, I could also go a bit newer. I say newer, like 2019. It was Shenmue 3. It got a lot of obviously dislike, and you are based pretty much in like the same sort of area, like the village, but the surrounding area, and obviously the music is just absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. You know? But I mean, obviously, I've never played Elden Ring. Not Eden. I was going to call it Eden Ring.
Elden Ring.
I've never played that, but I'm sure it's good.
Either way, Skyrim and Elden Ring are two damn good choices for our favourite game worlds. You got one? What do you reckon? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?